Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. We're glad you're here. Subscribe to this channel. Give this video a like. Tell your friends.
Check out the podcast below in the description. Do it now.
Not too early to think about 2021, John.
No, it's not.
And luckily, our buddy Matt Maiocco has done just that. Matt did some serious reporting, dove in. I know he talked to some people, talked to somebody at the NFL. And basically what he said is the 49ers' whole schedule for 2021, at least in terms of opponents, is almost set. Now, what you have here on the screen is what a 17-game schedule would look like. And there was Rap Sheet and Pelissero, and Matt wrote about this too, reported that that's basically done. There's going to be 17 games in the NFL. So what you don't see on the screen, you don't see the 6 league games. Why are you laughing?
Just 17 games, and there will be 10 playoff teams.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to play spring
maybe.
football, and maybe in the summer.
Fast forward 15 years, and it's like Thursday night, double, triple header, quadruple header. Friday, triple header, Maction. Somehow Maction's under the NFL umbrella.
Opening day, Major League Baseball, and week 47 of the NFL.
That'd be fantastic. It'd be like the NBA. Like, we don't even schedule against the NFL anymore. We just play an NBA game before every NFL game from an NFL stadium. All right, so you got your 6 NFC West games. As Maiocco wrote, the NFC West crossovers will be the NFC North and the AFC South. So you see 4 home games and 4 road games against those two divisions: Packers, Vikings, Texans, Colts, Bears, Lions, Jags, Titans. Then you'll have 3 last place crossover games. The 49ers are going to be the last place team in the division, so they'll play either the Falcons or the Panthers, whoever finishes in last place in the NFC South, and then the last place team from the NFC East, which, believe it or not somebody will finish in last place in that division. And then, as he wrote, home or road, not sure yet, but the AFC North last place team, John, will be the Bengals. And that'll be a Niner game.
That stands out to me right away, because when you look at the AFC North, they got 3 teams that now, with Mason Rudolph starting week 17, probably 3 playoff teams, right? Steelers, Ravens, the Browns. All those guys are going to be coming back. I'd say this offseason leading into next year, all 3 of those are going to be teams picked to make the playoffs again, right? They're going to have really good rosters. By far, I'd say the biggest discrepancy of like 3 teams and 1 in any division might be that division. So them getting the Bengals while Seattle plays Pittsburgh, while the Rams, play the Ravens, that is a pretty big swing, right? Just that one game. Now, you add an extra game, maybe one game isn't quite as big as of a swing as it was. It's still, one game in the NFL is still, even with 17 games, is a big deal.
But they might have the best quarterback on the field when the Niners and Bengals play, right?
But their team stinks.
Well, their team is not it's like good. We've seen, like without Joe Burrow, they've won a couple games they're not supposed to win.
I would say that game would be, when is it in the schedule? Because he is coming back from a major injury, right? ACL, he had some tendon stuff. Is he 100% locked to be a week 1 starter? What's the rush? But you're already in like rookie contract. You don't want to just waste the second year because you already wasted the first year. So, but that could be said for, I think, a lot of the teams on the schedule, Guy. The NFC West, which the 6 games are, we know the quarterbacks in those 6 games, right? With health. It's going to be Goff going nowhere with the money. Russell Wilson and Kyler are there. I see a lot of question marks, like the Colts. Is Phillip Rivers coming back? Do they pivot depending on what happens in the playoffs? Like, do they not make the playoffs? Do they change course? The Bears, while they've gotten hot and they may end up in the playoffs, Mr. Trubisky is not under contract. Do they try to go a different direction? The Lions, is he the 49ers starting quarterback? Do they trade him? Is he go somewhere else? The Jags, Trevor Lawrence, I think it's fair to say, would be the starter. The Titans are good. The Falcons, you just could never say never. They don't have a coach. They don't have a GM. Could they trade Matty Ice? The Panthers, I know he signed a 3-year, $60 million deal, but remember, the majority of it was not guaranteed. Could they draft a guy? Could that guy beat out Teddy? You say probably not, but you never know. The Eagles and Giants, I don't think we can say with a straight face who their quarterback is. I just think there's a lot of question marks for just some staple quarterbacks or some teams, right? Forever the Lions quarterback was going to be Stafford. Even the Bears the last 4 years had been Mitch. The Falcons had been Matty Ice. The Eagles, you would have thought for the last 5 years, Wentz, but I don't know, man. Even Daniel Jones, who's 6th pick in the draft, I don't think he's a lock to be their starter, is he?
No, I don't think so. Especially if they change GMs this year, which I guess some people think is
I
on
would
the
say
table.
that would be a sleeper. Could the Niners be facing Jimmy Garoppolo for the Giants? I don't think that would be out of the question, right? Joe Judge. We talked before, on previous shows, about, well, he's not going to go to Miami. Brian Flores, they have Tua.
You're saying
But
because
that
Joe
is a
Judge
place.
knows him from New England.
Maybe
Yeah.
Joe Judge really likes him, right? And just wants to get some stability and goes, if we had Jimmy Garoppolo, could we win the East next year? And I don't know if he's wrong.
I don't know if he's wrong either. But I'll tell you, like, one thing, like, they lost to the Eagles this year at home. Now, Nick Mullins played, and if Nick Mullins has to play in 2021, then, none of this conversation matters. But one thing that stands out to me, I look at the non-divisional road games, right? And you go, of the 4 away games just in the NFC West crossovers, Bears, Lions, Jags, Titans, when those games are, like, do you have the possibility of playing any of these games in snow? Well, we know in Detroit you don't. We know in Jacksonville you don't. Tennessee, I'm not familiar with Tennessee's weather patterns. Probably not.
I think it's pretty unlikely.
In Chicago, obviously, you do.
I'd say the Bears would be a big swing. Is that game in December or is that game in September?
Right. And the
Are there
AFC North
fans?
game, where is the Bengals game and when is it? Is it 2 weeks after you played the Eagles on the road or the Giants on the road or the Bears on the road, or is it, week 3 at home? I don't know. But
yeah, I'd say the Eagles and Bears, factoring weather late in the season / the Giants, weather in all 3 of those places are a big deal. And to me, the Eagles and the Bears, if they have a solid team and there are fans allowed, those aren't easy places to play, right?
Yeah.
Just in terms of the ferocity and just, the teams, it's hard to, the Eagles to me, the Eagles have a new coach. As of recording this, I think Doug, I saw he said the other day that he felt confident that he was going to be back, but I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah. Are the Lions coached by Robert Saleh, and did they hold on to Matt Stafford? That would be my other question with them. Like, how well do they know you, and is their quarterback good enough to beat you? Because if Robert Saleh's their coach and Matt Stafford's their quarterback, I would say they've got a chance.
Fair.
Just given Matt Stafford, right? But yeah, one other thing, and you mentioned it, like 17 games, how big of a difference is it from 16? Not huge, but it is one more game. To me, just the more games that get added, and let's say in 10 years we're playing 18 games or 19 games or 20 games or whatever, the more games that get added to me, the more important your starting quarterback becomes, because every week that passes is a chance for a guy to get hurt. And every game you play with a backup beyond 1 or 2 is a chance for you to get knocked out of the 1 seed, knocked out of the division lead. Just the more games you play without an elite starting quarterback, the worse off you are, period. So adding a 17th game, does it change the way you look at the quarterback position for the Niners? No, it doesn't. But it's just one more game that you might have to play with somebody who's not an elite quarterback if you can't figure it out.
Yeah. The other thing is you just look at some of these quarterbacks, right? The Packers have arguably the best offense in the league. The Vikings offense, Zimmer said it's the worst defense he's ever seen. Literally.
His own.
Yeah, his own. Their offense is not bad.
No.
Jefferson's, I think, going to be predicted. He's going to go really high in fantasy drafts next year. And if you play daily fantasy like we do, I'm going to draft him a lot. Dalvin Cook's under contract. The Texans, Deshaun Watson is a star. The Colts have an offensive infrastructure there, right? If they just get good quarterback play. The Jags, Trevor Lawrence, who knows? If he has like an Andrew Luck-like impact, they do have players. They have a good running back. They have several wide receivers. The Titans probably have a new offensive coordinator, but we're just like we do this a lot with new coaches. There aren't enough chairs for all these coordinators / Urban Meyer, Matt Campbell. Like, there aren't an unlimited amount of jobs open, right? Some of these guys, whether it's Robert Saleh, whether it's, Brian Daboll, whether it's Arthur Smith, are going to be back in their job. We saw it last year with Robert Saleh, where it looked like he was going to get a job and then he didn't. Now, there could also be the curveball of, by early next week, do 3 jobs open up? For example, I think this would be unlikely, but could Mike Zimmer just get fired? Right? Maybe they just go, listen, we think Mike's a really good coach, but the way the league is going, we need an offensive-minded guy.
Especially, sometimes it happens when somebody had somebody else in mind. Like, I know I can get Coach X, and I got to get him. Right? I was reading an article about A&M, how one of the reasons they fired Kevin Sumlin, now obviously it didn't go well there. In the end, I mean, at Arizona, it continued down a path. But they just felt like we can get Jimbo Fisher, and we got to do anything we can to get Jimbo Fisher. So they went and got him. It was an article about Texas, like, well, if you're not going to get Urban, and you're not going to get Dabo, and you're not going to get Matt Campbell, you can't just fire Tom Herman with no real plan on what you're doing next, unless you're landing a big fish. So you're right. There is that curveball of like somebody out there just says, I can get Doug Peterson. I got to do that. I don't care who my coach is. I got to get Doug Peterson, right? Or pick somebody. I got to get Eric Bieniemy before somebody else gets him. Something like that, right? You're right.
I read recently the reason Mike McCoy got hired years ago with the Chargers, they were afraid of losing him. You know, that happens sometimes in that cycle.
Like the coordinator situation.
The coordinator, when he was leaving Denver, I think when a guy gets really hot, and whoever, there's going to be a couple of those guys.
Is what you're talking about.
I mean, it could be Eric Bieniemy this year. It could be Arthur Smith. It could be Brian Daboll. It could be Robert Saleh. Whichever one of those coordinators separates himself in the interview process with multiple teams, that's to me how that happens, right?
Yeah.
And that's also how a guy gets left back at his job.
But I think that also happens when somebody has a pre-existing relationship, right? Because you're not interviewing those guys to figure out who's going to separate before you fire. Sorry, Mike Zimmer, this has become about you. Mike Zimmer, right? You got to have an idea of like, I need that guy. I don't care who's in my way. You know the other thing we do when we look at Niners games, and you said it with Kyler and with Russell, and they obviously played Kyler better this last week, was just how good are the quarterbacks? How mobile are the quarterbacks they're about to play? And, you know, not knowing yet Falcons, Panthers, but I feel pretty good about the Niners playing the Falcons, although we saw 2 years ago that the Falcons made it hard on them. Eagles, Giants, I'd feel pretty good about them playing. I'd rather them play the Giants just based on the athleticism of the quarterback position and how the Niners fare against less athletic quarterbacks.
Remember, Daniel Jones can run. He had that ball.
I know he can, but he doesn't feel like the you're right, he did have that play where he should have scored a touchdown.
I do think we're not that far away, though, from not being able to play this game. We're a couple years away. You know where I stand. I think they're dying. The Jared Goffs, like they're not going to exist in the league. Yeah. So there are going to be 2 or 3 total, and you're like, oh, thank God we got this guy.
The 2 games.
Because right now, I mean, I think you saw last night on Monday Night Football. I mean, Josh Allen is just kind of the norm, not his arm strength, but just his mobility, like just guys moving. And even the Patriots were rolling out Cam and then Stidham, like guys that can move.
Also, I'm with you. Here's the other thing. You don't look at the Packers like you did coming into 2020 when the Niners had their number.
I view them as tough.
They might be the defending Super Bowl champs when you play them next year, right? I mean, if
I
they
think
win the championship,
if the 2019
that could
Niners,
be the Thursday night opener, John, if the Packers win the championship. Actually, sorry, it's a Niner home game, so it wouldn't be. But
I think if the 2019 team played this Packer team, it wouldn't be a blowout.
It'd be a hell of
because clearly Aaron's a little more under control of what the hell's going on, right?
Yep, clearly. So, all things considered, we talk so much about losing games for draft position, losing games for your future schedule, even though what one team looks like one year, you can change so quickly. But losing games for your schedule, that really matters too. And hopefully you can take advantage of having a last play schedule, because that's worth, in this case, it's worth, if you expand, it's worth 3 games.
Yeah.
So
subscribe to the page.